Hey guys, welcome back to The Vice Garage. I'm Quinn. Stoked to have you today. We have a brand new 2024 Ram 2500 Cummins. This is the one you've been waiting for. We're going to put a 12,000 pound winch in behind the factory bumper. Let's get into it. So how are we going to get this 12,000 pound winch behind this factory bumper? Well, we have our hidden winch mount kit, comprised of the main winch mount, some custom bumper brackets, some secondary winch mounting brackets, a complete graded hardware set, full instructions that go along with this video, and our control box relocation kit and wiring harness. The first thing that we need to do is prep this front bumper for removal. We're going to remove the inner fender wells from the bumper. This can be done by just pulling them and separating like so. Sometimes it's a little tight, so you can use a pry tool if needed. This reveals the inner bumper harness. Pull it off the clip there. Push the tab back. And press the button and separate the harness. One little extra step, if you already have our front skid plate on, is we're going to remove that. It has 5 fasteners along the front and 3 along the back. Next, we're removing the tow hooks. They're held in place with these 2 large fasteners here. Grab a 24mm socket and a breaker bar. The block heater is located in behind the bumper. It's now time to access and remove that. There's a couple clips holding in place in the bumper as well as up the bumper mounts. So grab your pry tool and remove as much as you can. Now, because our skid plate's on here, or was on here, there's no valance in the way. So that's why it looks the way it does. So get as many as you can. There's a couple up there as well. And then when we remove the bumper, we'll probably still have to grab 1 or 2. The front bumper is held on with 2 fasteners on either side of the frame, using an 18mm socket and wrench on the back side. Remove those. Remove the fastener holding the bumper in place. And with the help of another person, slide the bumper off the front of the truck. Now, it may get caught on the block heater there. So remove that and then lay it down on a soft protected surface. So we are installing the Warn VR Evo 12S winch. We selected this winch because it is the strongest winch for its size and it works perfectly with our kit. We've gone ahead and removed the control box and clocked the clutch side housing. We have videos on that which will appear on the screen here or be linked in the description below. You know that it is clocked correctly when the clutch handle here is in line with the VR on the winch. We still have to rotate this handle, so just set the winch on the motor side And with a 4mm Allen key, we're just going to remove this fastener here. This pops off. It's threaded on both sides. Click it back on and reinsert that fastener. This ensures that when the winch is installed, it doesn't get caught on the winch plate. Next, we're going to rotate the winch onto its backside so the feet are facing you, like so. Grab your main winching plate. Actually, before that, let's slide in the square fasteners supplied with the Warren hardware kit into the feet. Now grab your main winching plate, pass the rope through. This will also let you know if you are positioned correctly. The rope comes out through the center there. And I'm going to position it so the feet are at the top of these slots here. We can always move it down if we need to. And using the Warren factory M10 hardware, we're just going to attach these in. Just snug it up. We may have to move it, so we'll torque everything later once everything's in its final position. Back on the truck side, we are now going to remove the top two fasteners that hold the intercooler in place. Best tool for this is a 13mm or 1/2" ratcheting wrench. They are attached from the back side. And just work them all the way out. Using thread there. That hardware removed, grab the M12 by 55mm cap screw and fender washer and insert it back in where that last fastener was removed. Once it starts threading, grab your 1/4" spacer here, push on the intercooler, and slide it in place. Do that on both sides and then snug it down. We have to make just a little bit of room for the bracket kit that comes in here. So we're gonna trim this rubber section at the top of the V here down about 45 degrees, follow it along the plastic, and then back out. Once you're done one side, take it to the other side and then just trace it out. Get your two bumper brackets and your secondary winch brackets and lay them out in front of you. These are identical, so there's no left and rights, but these are specific. Grab your bumper bracket and the secondary bracket. We're going to line up two holes. That's this hole here with the bottom hole, which is on the seam side. These holes here will line up. And we're going to take our M12 carriage bolt, insert it into these holes, and do it up with the flange nut there. This bottom edge should sit about flush or close to. And these holes here will be in the center. This is just a temporary fastener, just to hold the assembly when we put it on the truck. We now have two mirrored sets of these assemblies. Grab your factory bumper mounting hardware and the mounts, and we'll head over to the truck. So for the orientation, this fastener goes on the lower inside of the vehicle. Grab your bumper mounting hardware, slide this assembly over the frame, just like the factory ones, and slide that in place. Grab the nuts and thread them on the backside. There's a little bit of adjustment built into the brackets. First step I usually do is grab this toe lug hardware and make sure that it fits right through. And then we're gonna align this up with the frame. It's a good starting point. So I usually pull that out. Just make sure you get your wrench on there and snug it down. Now this can be all adjusted after, so don't worry about it too much, but that's a good starting point. Grab your winch assembly with your electrical connections on the motor facing up. Slide it up and into that bracket. Take your M12 carriage bolts and from the inside, slide them out through your secondary bracket. And just snug that down. And repeat on the other side. If you think you're missing hardware, you're not. The extra hardware you're looking for is in this bottom spot. So remove it now that this assembly is all pinched in place and install it in between the primary and secondary winch bracket. Once these are all done, center them in the slots and torque them down. So the winch assembly is installed. You know that you've got it right when this clutch handle is on the bottom and turns away from the mount. So we're going to be able to reach and access this from the bumper through the bottom side of the bumper. Underneath, if there is less than a 1/4 inch gap between the winch itself and the intercooler, there is further adjustment down under here. You can loosen off these two 13mm head fasteners on either side that hold the intercooler bracket to the frame and just rotate the intercooler back in the slotted hole. Grab your vice control box relocation kit and attach it to your control box. Again, there's a detailed video on that linked below. Get your control box relocation kit bracket, which is specific for this vehicle, and flip it over. This bracket attaches to the bottom with the factory worn hardware. Align the slots and grab your 4mm Allen key down. Feed the end of the control box relocation kit down towards the bumper bracket. So it comes out the front like so. We'll now remove the factory fastener that attaches to this plastic battery holder. we're going to install the longer fastener provided with our kit, as well as a 3/4 inch spacer, and we'll tighten that down there. A nice little feature of this bracket is it allows it to pull out of the way so you can access your fuse box. Don't forget to grab the boots off of the cables that came with the winch and slide them on the extensions. These cables get attached to the winch. They are color coded by us to match the marking on top of the winch. This is the ground cable, as well as, don't forget, the ground cable that comes with the winch. This is going to go up to the battery negative. So the final assembly should look like this. Again, don't forget this ground cable. So make sure you clean up all the wiring with zap straps, making sure that the harness doesn't rub on any sharp objects. If it has to cross any sharp object, just add some extra loom. Get the bumper placed in front of you, and with an 18mm socket, remove the factory bumper mount. A lot of times these retaining washers are damaged, so we supply new ones. Take a hammer and just knock out the studs on the bumper. When you're at this point, you might as well install our Vice LED fog light set and then carry on with the install. We're going to reinstall the bumper studs now with the new hardware. We also supply these square washers, which are going to make installation a lot easier because the stud doesn't wobble around. So slide that over the bumper stud, position it in the bumper. We're going to be installing the studs in this hole, and this hole on either side. Grab your retaining washer and deep socket and press into place. If you are going to install the pre-cut bumper insert, you're going to do so now. To do that, you have to remove these buckets, which are just held in by a series of 13mm head bolts, and then undo all these 8mm nuts, sliding these T fasteners out, replacing the sensor clips and reinstalling them in this, and then reinstalling this. Snaps into place. We're going to show you how to cut your insert so it shows the profile of the Fairlead. So the mesh sits flat so you can get a good profile. Remove only the top two fasteners holding the winch in. With another set of hands, slide the bumper back on. Grab the Fairlead that you're going to use. This is the one that comes with the winch. And hold up the holes to the top two of those on the winch. From there, take a marking pen and then just trace where you are going to make your cuts. We'll now take the bumper off and cut in those exact spots. Grab your cutting tool A little reciprocating saw or small zip disc works great. Time to install the Winch Fairlead. The Warren VR Evo comes with this nice blacked out one. Matches the accents on this Night Edition nicely. Slide it through the rope and place it where you did the cutout. Align the holes and install. Now, if you're going to be using a winch hook, then it is important to install our winch hook retaining mount, which comes with the kit. And that gets installed on either side. I usually install on the driver's side. Like so. So the Warren VR Evo comes with this hook here, totally capable. But because this truck is a Night Edition and is blacked out, we are going with the Warren Epic hook. It's forged, comes in a gunmetal finish, and it just looks a little bit better on the front of the truck. We sell these, as well as we do sell a full line of Factor 55 gear. So if you are wanting to match some accents, these are beautifully machined units, and it would also look fire on the front of the truck. So to install the Warren hook, just slide it through the opening in the rope, drop your clevis pin in, and retain it in place with the pin. Back in the engine bay, disconnect your battery negatives. And hook up your positive cable that comes from your control box to the battery positive on the winch. You can slide it up through this factory boot. And directly onto the terminal stud. And grab the winch negative cable and attach it to the negative post on the negative terminal. You can now attach the negative back onto the battery on both sides. And then once it is secure, just double check the connections again. Grab a handful of cable ties and secure all the wiring in place neatly. reconnect the bumper harness. Make sure that all the fasteners are torqued to spec as per the installation manual. Lastly, we're going to reinstall the inner fender liners into the bumper. Those pry back in place. One thing you're absolutely gonna love about these Warn winches is the wireless remote. To connect to your winch, hold the top button down until that blue light illuminates. Just give it a touch there. And that's what this winch hook is for. There's gonna be no rattling, etc. when you're driving down the road. And that's the final product.